Destructive Creations is responsible for a new game called Hatred, which some on the internet are calling the worst game trailer of the year. Let's take a quick look.
My name is not important. What is important is what I'm going to do. I just fucking hate this world and these human worms feasting on its carcass. My whole life is just cold, bitter hatred. And I always wanted to die violently. This is the time of vengeance, and no life is worth saving. And I will put in the grave as many as I can. It's time for me to kill. And it's time for me to die. My genocide crusade begins here.
It did not say hot rod, it said hatred. Yeah. And so you can see how this game has been getting a lot of criticism about the indiscriminate, gleeful killing of innocents, people who are clearly, well, in a typical shooter you have an objective, and it's typically, you're out to get someone who probably in some way deserves it, or you're in a playing field where you're all soldiers, or you're all, it's somehow justified morally. Whereas this one is out there with saying, like, no, I'm going to go kill innocents. I want to kill everyone. I love it.
We talked about this once, actually I think the first time that I was ever on Young Turks, and we both spoke about sort of the violence of video games, and how I believe...
Well, we had a different argument a little.
I think we talked a little different, but the idea that, like, okay, if your kid is fucked up, he's fucked up, and it's not because of a video game necessarily. However, I do feel gross about this, and I'm a huge supporter of video games. I play video games. I've played them since, I was like 8 years old, maybe even younger, that were fairly violent. Growing up, I loved Max Payne. I idolized Max Payne, but Max Payne was a good guy. Max Payne killed a lot of people, but it was because Max Payne knew that he was trying to, make right something that was wrong. They were mostly thugs.
Yeah.
Max Payne is super gritty and super realistic. In a game like Grand Theft Auto, you are sort of doing indiscriminate violence everywhere, but it's still more cartoonish.
You don't have to necessarily.
No, but let's be real. Like that's the whole point of it. But I think that what the issue is with this is, like, as adults, I feel like we can very clearly say, this is real, this is fake, I know it. But when I was 12 and I was 13, I think I was pretty influenced by a lot of the sort of narrative messages in the video games that I was playing. And I worry that there would be a situation where a kid could see this and could start to sort of idolize this character who clearly is not somebody who would be in a good functional reality that we would live in.
I don't know that I necessarily agree about the power of influence in that way. I've said many times that I don't believe that video game violence begets real world violence. It may beget like aggressive attitudes or but a lot of the times it's unfairly scapegoated in a situation where there are many variables at play. But when I see this trailer, it does make me feel pretty gross. I mean, we do know the difference between fantasy and reality as adults, and most people are able to do that. But it's just, why? Why did we need this?
Well, yeah, so this game mostly bothers me as a gamer because I'm not so much worried about what it's going to do to kids or whatever. It's some shitty little Polish developer. It won't even probably have a very wide release in the United States. Maybe it'll end up on Green Man Gaming or Steam. That seems unlikely at this point. I think that the damage it's going to do, because non-gamers are going to see that and think that, oh, it's like Activision's doing it or EA is doing it. That's what people want.
It comes at an inconvenient time.
Exactly.
For sure.
I mean, at any time. It's the damage it's going to do in terms of how it's going to be portrayed in the media is going to so dwarf how many people actually end up playing it at all. It's them looking to be controversial and dragging the rest of us in. And that's annoying.
And if you look at what they say in a Polygon interview, for instance, which maybe you guys have read, I don't know.
I read that interview.
But it's an attempt to garner publicity, right? Like they're trying to make something that's a statement that's supposed to reflect the current culture in which we live, and I think that it does run the risk of being sort of scapegoated as the everyone's opinion of gaming and everyone's sort of attitude about gaming, and I think that's really very dangerous.
Yeah. Well, it's also lazy. Like they say that we don't want to be PC. We want to be honest about what it's about.
Is that honest, or is that just
They think
aggressively
it's-
opposing to being PC?
I think it is.
Well, I think it's that. But look, it's not difficult to be controversial in terms of violence. Like they've been doing that since Postal. I mean, Freddy Got Fingered, a Serbian film, Carmageddon.
Yeah.
It's very easy to just have a lot of violence. It's much harder to make your mark and show that you can put together a good game and a good storyline and make like a beautiful experience like Red Dead Redemption, or a moving, emotional video game experience like Journey or something like that.
Yeah.
That you're taking the lazy way out. Anybody can just pile up bodies and gore. That's not difficult.
That's a fair point. In terms of narrative structure or story or building a plot or a world, that is very weak.
Yeah. It is. The final point. It is interesting though that like we see the innocence, and even though it's all just pixels and polygons, it does affect us. Like that's how video games are starting to progress, and emotionally, and in terms of the graphics, that we can look at it and have our stomach be turned. Even though, I mean, ever since I was loading Doom shareware on my grandfather's PC, I was sticking chainsaws and zombies, and I've killed countless soldiers and robots and orcs lately. Man, I've slaughtered a lot of orcs.
But they keep coming back.
They keep coming back. I cut off so many heads and they keep coming back. But we can draw that line. I think that this game, if it has any silver lining, is that it helps some of us feel like, oh wait, I haven't been totally desensitized. I am still an empathic human being because this makes me sick.
And I don't think we should ban it. I hate it when we start talking
Yeah.
about banning things, because I think that deflects from what the actual issue is, which is like, if you have kids who are screwed up, they're going to be screwed up. And you need to address that. It's a parental issue who needs to go and fix that with a kid.
I agree. I don't think it should be banned, though I do think it's not a good game.
No.
And I heavily agree with you that this is like for publicity. We would have never heard of this game company or this game if this trailer weren't so ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
And it is a base and
good
gross
job
way.
doing that.
Yeah.
What do you think, audience of Hatred? The trailer so far is what we have. Does it deserve the criticism it's gotten, or maybe not? Let us know what you think below in the comments, and please be sure to subscribe.